in Unit 4 here, we're going to talk about quadratics, and specifically in Section 1, we're going to talk about standard form for quadratics. And that is kind of, and we'll look at number 1 here first. Standard form is this. Y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. Later in the unit, we'll look at vertex form. And you've done a lot with quadratics in your prior 2 math classes. So what we're going to do on this first one is, and we got some things we need to know, and I have these on your reference sheet. Finding the line of symmetry. And if you remember, if you graph these, they're going to be parabolas. And the middle of the parabola can be found by saying, or taking x equals negative b all over 2a. That is what we call your axis of symmetry, and I use the abbreviation AOS for that. And that kind of finds us the middle of the parabola when we are graphing them. And we got a whole bunch of different things we're going to find. Okay, the vertex, the axis of symmetry, the direction of opening, whether it has a max or a min, and actually finding that value, the y-intercept, and then also sketching the graph by making a table value. So a lot involved in one problem here. So first thing you're always going to find when given the equation in standard form, notice we have y equals negative 2x squared plus 24x minus 76 here for this first one, is you're going to find, we're going to find the axis of symmetry. Even though it asks for the vertex first, you can't find that until you find the axis of symmetry. So if we do the axis of symmetry, we're going to do x equals our negative b over 2a. So x equals, remember, a is what's in front of x squared, so in this case a would be negative 2, b is what's in front of x, and c is your constant or your number term. So if I do the opposite of b, b is 24, so I want to do negative 24 all over 2 times a, which is negative 2. So we got to do the multiplication on the bottom first, so this would be negative 4. So it'll actually be x equals, we have negative 24 divided by negative 4, so it's going to be x equals 6. So that's one thing we need to find. That's our axis of symmetry. Now, the vertex is always on the axis of symmetry for quadratics, parabolas. To find that, so we have to find, so I know my vertex is going to be at an x value of 6. Okay, so actually let's go back and graph our axis of symmetry. So I know the middle of my parabola here on this problem is the vertical line right here at x equals 6. Okay, so I'd like you to put that on your graphs. Now, the vertex is going to be somewhere on that vertical line, so it's at 6 something. Well, it's just like finding the y value that goes with it. I got to plug 6 into my equation. I'm going to do some work way down here on the bottom. So I have y is equal to, and I'm going to put 6 in for x. I have negative 2 times 6 squared plus 24 times 6 minus 76. Now, if you do this in steps, you'd have to do this first. That would be 36. 36 times 2 is negative 72. You do the 24 times the 6, which is 144. And then minus the 76. So if I add these two first and then subtract 76, that does equal negative 4. So my vertex, so that value is going to go right up in there for the y value. So my vertex is at 6, negative 4. So let's actually plot that. So there's the vertex. That's the turning point of my parabola. Okay? Now, direction of opening. So it's either going to open up or down. Here's the easy way to tell. You look at the a value. In this case, my a is negative 2. If a is negative, it opens down. So this one will open down. For instance, if that would have been a positive 2, it would open up. Now, if it opens down, does it have a max or a min value? Well, it's going to be a parabola that opens down like this. So it's going to have a highest point. So it opens down, it has a max, and now the value of the max is always the y value of the vertex. So that, in this case, would be negative 4. So negative 4 would be my maximum value. Okay? And then we also need to find our y-intercept. The y-intercept is easy. The y-intercept is always the c value. So in this case, it'd be negative 76. So it's going to cross way down on the y-axis at negative 76, which is going to be off our grid here. Okay? Let me actually shrink this up a little bit. So then we got to make a table of values. So I'm going to make my table over here to the left. Now, you're going to want to have your axis of symmetry or vertex be in the middle. So notice that was at 6. So I want 6 in the middle of my, and I already plugged 6 in, and that gave me negative 4. So now I got to try a couple points on either side of an x value of 6. So I need to do, let's go with 5 and 4, and then 7 and 8. So I just picked the two nearest integers on either side of your axis of symmetry value. When you plug them in, I would have to do exactly what I did right here, putting 6 in, and plug these other values in. You can do this on your calculator. I will just show you kind of what you get. When I plug in 5, I get negative 6. When I plug in 4, I get negative 12. And when I plug in 7, I get negative 6. And when I plug in 8, I get negative 12. Okay, and I'm not going to show all the work here, but basically plug them in here. You'd have each of those values in place of where that 6 was right there, follow order of operations. So if we do this and plot the points, we have 5, negative 6, which is going to be right here. And we have 7, negative 6, which is going to be right there. And then we'd be way down there at negative 12 over here. So this parabola, and that goes off the grid, is going to look like that and like that.